Paddy Power, sponsors of the Road to Cheltenham.
Hello everyone, welcome to Road to Cheltenham. We are live before racing from Gowran Park on Thyestes Day. We've just had a testing, 1, 2, 3 testing, Ruby, across the public address, and you're expecting that to happen a few times.
I doubt that'll be the sole test, Lydia.
You've got to be sure.
Yeah.
You have got to be sure.
Definitely, of course you do.
The great thing about today's show is that we've got a special guest. Darragh O'Keeffe is with us, and you'll have been seeing, if you've been following social media and are talking about this show, Josh Stacey's particularly been pushing it. There are some questions that we've been asking you to put to him, and thank you very much to those of you who've already sent some through. If you have any more, try and get them across to us during the course of the show. But I'm really looking forward to talking to Darragh, having taken over from Rachel Blackmore, of course, the stable jockey to Henry de Bromhead. Henry tends to have a very strong festival, very strong end to the season.
It does, yeah. Henry, I don't know, is it tradition or is it the way it goes? But like October, November, very strong, kind of quietens a bit during the winter. But he has an uncanny knack of delivering in March. And I know my dad would often argue most things, but he still can't figure out how Henry has won champion chase with some of the horses that he has won them with.
And we will be hearing about his champion chase candidate Quilixios later on in the show. Funnily enough, I particularly associate this day with Darragh because he won the Thyestes on Longhouse Poet. I love this horse, and I was absolutely convinced that he would go on to win the Grand National, and for much of the race it looked like he was going to do it.
He didn't quite stay maybe in the National after, did he? But different ground to at entry. But look, Thyestes is always a good slog. Not a slog, that's the wrong way of putting it, but and it is a good trial for Nationals. Number 6, Valverde, Hedge Hunter, last year's winner, Nick Rocket. Good horses come out of Thyestes Chase. It's an open topped handicap, so a bit like the Tri-Town, it tends to be a classier race maybe than the Paddy Power or the Porterstown.
Yeah. And Darragh's on board Harry de Zongre later on today. We'll be hearing about that. Also, we'll be talking about all of the entries, the key entries for Henry de Bromhead over the course of the programme, and also getting Darragh's point of view on some of the opponents that he's ridden against and some of the British races that he's been watching.
He'll have a view too.
You've told me this. You've been to a few festival previews with him.
I've been doing a few things. Strong opinions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, joining us in a few seconds. Stand by for some strong opinions. Here he is, the man himself. Darragh, welcome to the show. Strong opinions, Ruby assures me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for sort of rolling under the bus there. How come? I mean, you've obviously spoken together about horse racing a lot, and presumably you tend to take a view on who's talking sense.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard as some people find it to believe. I do listen as well at times, and I just different opinions. Different times I've heard Darragh speak and listen to his theories and different things, and you think, yeah, I can see the logic for that. I can see a reason behind that. It's not just flying kites. He usually thinks things through.
And you were at Henry's this morning schooling. How's the feeling at the yard at the moment?
Yeah, good. Everyone seems to be happy. Horses are running well, and I went down there for one lot this morning schooling, so headed on up here, didn't he? So good.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. We are going to start by talking about the established chases, in particular the 2-mile chases, because we've got quite a tumultuous Clarence House look back on, Ruby, and there was drama before, during and after the race.
Yeah, it was all drama. Obviously Harry Cobden got a fall off Neon Moon, I think it was, and there was the debate whether he would or whether he wouldn't ride. As far as I was concerned, he didn't ride the next one. I think it's only for a blood injury that you can miss a ride and then go back and ride the next one. So I assumed he wouldn't. James Bowen got the ride. Of course, hadn't been on John Bond since the Clarence House at Cheltenham many moons ago. And then the race transpired to deliver John Bond getting the better of Tisselask with Il Etait Temps never showing up and Gidley Park completely blowing out. So I don't think Il Etait Temps turned up, but that said, I thought James was good on John Bond. He missed the first one out of Swindley Bottom, and he caught him by the scruff of the next and made up his mind for him, and he just outstayed Tisselask from there home.
Did you see it as a case of the horse outstaying essentially the field?
Definitely. What Ruby said, I thought James was good, and then kind of when he went for a stride, up Swindley Bottom, John Bond put down, but I thought even at the next couple of fences, he really said, come on, you're not doing that again, and you kind of knew turning in that he was going out to stay this last, I think. So yeah, it was good for James, I suppose, after what happened at Cheltenham, you know, and to get a high profile riding a horse like that, and for him not to win, it was good that, I suppose, that he got his day in the sun with him again.
Yeah, I was interested by that. Both James and his brother Sean the following day mentioned how much that had kind of weighed on James's mind, and it was put to him that it was what the media had said. I suspect, and you can tell me whether that's the case, you're both of you, it's self-criticism, isn't it, that's the worst thing? You know, that's the thing that most plays in your head.
Well, that's it, I suppose. When you ride a horse like John Bon or any horse, like, and they've won what they've won and they don't win, I suppose you're going to say it's my fault. You know, you're going to blame yourself, and I suppose you'll have the media and that have their, or you know, social media. I suppose you'll get criticism on there as well, but it's your self-criticism that hurt me the most, anyway.
I think it's very, very same, and I always think that, like, AP got one go on Cawdor Star, he didn't fire, but he still says, like, imagine I rode him and couldn't win on him in a King George. And it is self-criticism, and people, no matter how good you are or who you are always self-critical. And James would have looked at that Clarence House and said, and would have thought, if, could I, should I, would I? But if you're not self-critical, you're never going to get any better.
And what next do you think then for John Bon? Nicky Henderson has been saying that they're going to try and get him to the Ascot Chase, so back there quite quickly though, in February, over 2 mile 5.
Yeah, it would look tailor-made for him. He's had a great record in Aintree in over 2.5. He's been good in that race a couple of times. I thought watching the Clarence House he would go Ryanair, but if he goes Ascot, maybe he's not going Ryanair. I don't know. Look, I'd say all in all, the McManuses were delighted to see John Bon go and win, because he's a horse that they really like, and I'd say they were delighted to see him having one more big day.
Obviously he's managed to do 3 big races on the bounce. He's gone Cheltenham, Aintree, Sandown, I think 2 seasons in a row, hasn't he? So he's capable of backing up. But like you, I think if he gets to Ascot, it says to me Aintree. But if he doesn't get to Ascot, then I'll be expecting him in the Ryanair.
I would be thinking the same. Where would you go to?
I suppose Cheltenham is Cheltenham, isn't it? You know, I'd be having a crack at the Ryanair, yeah.
Okay. So when all of us, you know, watching on saying, you know, it's not all about Cheltenham, you're all secretly going, yeah, it is.
It is.
Okay, it is. News on Harry Cobden. He, of course, was stood down after getting a kick on that fall from Neon Moon. There had been hope that he'd be getting back riding this week. He was tentatively put up on a couple tomorrow, but he's not now riding on trials day, and his agent is talking about getting him back at some point next week. That does mean that he misses the ride on Minella Yoga. Let's talk about Thistle Ask, Ruby, who excelled himself again. He proved that progression he's shown against lesser horses in handicaps was no fluke, and he really took it to the rest of the field.
He did, and he jumped brilliantly. Travelled strongly, jumped brilliantly. And you thought maybe away from the third last for a couple of strides, did he have him on the stretch? But as Harry started the move and John Bon was closing, you were thinking there's only going to be one result here. And the jumping down the straight didn't really matter then. John Bon was just always going to outstay him. Where did I see him ending up? I think Daniel Box clever with him. Now maybe the owner might want a shot at the Champion Chase, but I think going the other way around is a completely different taste of Ask. He jumps out to his right. I would be surprised if they don't freshen him up a little bit and head him straight at Sandown for the celebration.
Yeah, he's going to be vying with Solness for the outside if it goes out to his right, isn't he, in the Champion Chase?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think you can see it in his couple of runs even around Kempton. He does have the preference for going right. But yeah, you think somewhere like Sandown, you know, you could see him getting into a really good rhythm there, and he could be hard to peg back, yeah.
And now Il Etait Temps. And now the first question is, how is he?
He's fine. He came home. He was grand. He was down for a bit, but he got up. He was grand. Looked a really tired fall, but look, Lydia, even watched him in the ring. I was watching ITV last Saturday. It looked like Luke Turner was dragging him around the ring. Paul said he felt that way going to post. He was very very relaxed, very quiet. And to me, he never rose a gallop. I turned to Gillian watching it last Saturday and said, going to the first fence, jeez, I would love to get the hood off him. He never rose a gallop.
What did you think, Darragh?
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought even was it when they jumped 2 fences and you could see Paul switching him outside the couple just to get him competitive, but he never jumped with the same fluency, and even, you know, he was guessing at fences, so thought the writing was on the wall long ways out for him.
And so you're putting it down to just a bad day. I agree. He was niggled towards the first. I mean, he was shaken up after the first. He's probably never been that quick before. Could that have had an impact in that shorter space of time?
I don't think so. I thought the same, and then I went back and watched the Celebration Chase last year where Mark let John Bon stride early and Danny was always travelling well and he let that Tom. Now, as I was saying to David, like we did go 2.5, or they did go 2.5 at him in entry as a novice, and he came back to Punchestown and beat Gaelic Warrior, but I think time has proven that was probably beating the stayer. He was always going to do that, but I think last year's Celebration Chase, not to Tingle Creek because they went so slow on it, but last year's Celebration Chase probably says to you, no, he just wasn't right, because he had the pace in Sandown last year to travel, whereas in Ascot he didn't.
So you can't see a scenario where he'd go up into it for the Ryanair?
I would be shocked if Willie did that off the back of one bad run anyway.
Okay, let's take a look at the impact on the Champion Chase betting that the Clarence House has had, and this is the before Saturday, the immediate, visceral reaction to Saturday, and now that everybody's had a bit of time to reflect. And Marine Nationale remains the 6-4 favourite. Nashborough's tightened up slightly. Il Etait Temps was out to 8s but is now 7s, and we have got a certain Quilixios there. But before we move on to Quilixios, let's talk about some trash talking, shall we? Barry Connell was at it again, Ruby, with Marine Nationale. He was talking about how he thought the opposition was rubbish going into the Clarence House, and afterwards he hadn't changed his view, had he?
No, I think he has full faith in his own horse, Barry, but I suppose Barry is very different to everybody else in that he is the owner and the trainer.
Yeah.
So most trainers are trying to manage the expectations of owners, and most owners are going with the opinion of their trainer. But when that's one person, there's no one to keep that tempered, and that's the position Barry's in. He looks at his horse, he has full faith. But likewise, there will be nobody more disappointed in Cheltenham if Marine Nationale doesn't win than Barry Connell. But the only one Barry will have to explain that to is Barry Connell. He doesn't have to explain it to an owner or to anybody else. So it's a very different position that Barry Connell is in to everybody else.
OK, well, let's talk about Quilixios, shall we? We haven't seen him since he fell at the last against Marine Nationale in the Champion Chase. What's been going on with him? I've seen him on ITV. He's doing some open water swimming, I understand it?
Yeah, he's swimming. I think he was going off today as well, or yesterday I see him going off. Seems to be in good form. Obviously he fell with me in Cheltenham and had a little setback from that, but yeah, seems to be in good order now. He's training well, and hopefully it'll be all roads lead back to the Champion Chase for him. Do
you want to talk us through the Champion Chase from your perspective? Ruby, you can lead us into the race.
Yeah, we just clipped it up. I mean, to me, he had the pace to go forward. He travelled really well for you. He jumped for you. You must have been happy pretty much every point of this race.
Yeah, I was, and like even Henry and that we were chatting beforehand. We said we'd buck him out and go forward. He likes attacking his fences, and even we said if something wanted to go quicker than this grand, but it was very. You could see early that Solness wasn't in that rhythm that he normally gets around Leopardstown, and my lad was taking me there, and Paul was there as well. So yeah, as I said, I jumped it hard last well, and I knew he'd stay going anyway.
Did you ever think you were going to win?
I did, yeah. I kind of, even when I winged the third last, and obviously Sean kind of loomed up beside me, but down to the second last, I got a good jump, and I kind of saw Sean twitching a little bit, like he's going from in between the last two. I said, if I get a flyer at the last, you wouldn't know what'll happen,
Didn't get the fire, crumpled over. He is a Triumph winner. You say he'd be going back there, and when we look at this race, it's fallen apart so many times in the Champion Chase in recent times. You'd have to think you have a small chance.
Definitely, yeah, and I think his record fresh is good as well. I think last year I beat Marine Nationale, albeit Marine Nationale was kind of his first run out of open company, I suppose, but he does have a good record fresh, and yeah, hopefully he'll have a good chance.
When you look at it, what do you see as the main opposition?
I think
obviously Marine Nationale, but outside of him.
Yeah, Marine Nationale, and I suppose before the Clarence House you were thinking Willie's horse, but it's hard to, I think it's very open after that. I thought Marlborough's run in Leopardstown was better than even Cork. Thought his jumping was getting there, and I don't think he's to prove a whole lot to match the others again. So I think if he can get everything together on the day, he's probably the one still, I think.
Can I ask what Il Etait Temps' reputation is based on? Isn't it just on beating John Bon?
It is beating John Bon in a Celebration Chase and then beating him in a very slowly run Tingle Creek. I'd imagine Gaelic Warrior over 2 miles probably doesn't say you're a 2 miler. Disappointing in the Arkle, missed the 2 ditches. Yeah, that's what it's based on, isn't it?
I think so. And maybe he didn't turn up at Ascot, but there's also another way of looking at it. Sort of how substantial a favourite actually was he going into the race?
Well, we weren't so sure. We both questioned the Tingle Creek run in December. It was pedestrian, so that really wasn't a trial, but I still don't think you can judge him purely. Even in his form book, if you look down through him, he's never had a run as bad as last week. ever in his life. So that to me is a one-off.
I was also, John Bond. You remember this time last year everyone was talking about John Bond, never out of the first two. What an amazing horse he is, consistently at the high standard. He's still never been out of the first two, 26 runs, and he was kind of discarded before the Clarence House. So just I love the way that racing, actual races.
Short-term memory of racing.
Exactly, and actual races turn things around. Let's take a look at the Dublin Chase betting, because that's obviously the next significant stepping stone, an important race in its own right, a Grade 1. I'm getting from you, Darragh, that you're not expecting Quilixios to turn up here.
I'd imagine, no, I'm not 100% sure, but, I thought maybe they might keep him fresh, and, with his record fresh, maybe his best chance of winning the Champion Chase will go there without a run, and, he's proven that he can come out in his first start and be ready, so yeah.
I was also looking at his performance in the Dublin Chase last year. I suppose he did try and mix it with Solness and probably paid the price for it, but it was probably his lesser run of the whole season.
That's it, I suppose he's a horse that likes going forward and getting into a good rhythm, but Solness, it's hard to get into a battle with him around Leopardstown, isn't it? So maybe he did pay the penalty, but I still don't think he ran his race, and hopefully he'll run it in March.
If he jumps around, Marine National wins both the Dublin Chase and the Champion Chase. But Solness is 3-0 count him against Marine National at Leopardstown.
He is, and he's a different proposition at Leopardstown than he is anywhere else, Solness, to be fair to him. And Joseph's horses continue in really good form. So Dublin Chase will be one of many belters next weekend, Lydia.
Yeah, it's going to be really good, isn't it? Really, really good meeting over the 2 days. You can see it live on Racing TV, obviously. Right, we're going to move up in trip now and take a look at the Ryanair betting. And clearly we're talking about possibly John Bon going up in trip. Obviously, JP is quite stacked in this race. I mean, potentially he could have Mashborough. Jaguar, if he runs really well on Saturday, and Spillans Tower as well, who runs in the Cotswold Chase. And I understand Jack Kennedy has come in for the ride. He's over there to ride Hardy Boy.
He's over there to ride Hardy Boy. I'd imagine Mark is staying here for something or other. The filly they bought off Gordon.
In Naas.
The mare that beat Bambino Fever. I'd imagine Mark is staying to ride her.
Old School Outlaw.
Old School Outlaw. So Jack was there, so he rides Spillans Tower against Grey Dawning, yeah.
Yeah, extraordinary one. So, OK, so in the mix then, all of those for the Ryanair. Let's look back on last year's Ryanair, which was run by the key one for JP McManus, Factor File. But behind, we had the likes of Heartwood, Envoy Allen and Protector out, the winner of the year before.
Yeah, and look, Darragh, you obviously rode Heartwood here. You elected to follow Mark. Was that the plan?
Yeah, it was. He was the one that I thought, looking at it, he was going to be the likely winner, and I thought he'd bring me as far as I'd need to go anyway.
He most certainly did. And again, top of the hill, a bit like Quilixios. Did you think for a stride or two might have a chance here?
Yeah, I thought, Jungle Boogie, I think, was up there with Danny, and then the French horse took it off him. I could see from very early that I was definitely going to be involved, but Mark obviously was going very, very good in front of me, so I thought, I'm definitely going to be placed anyway.
He had a good comeback run earlier in the season this year at Punchestown, and then he went to Tramore. Now I know it was a completely different contest when he got to Tramore, but you bounced him out and made all of them at Tramore. If you went back to the Ryanair this March, would you ride him more like you rode him in Tramore, or would you try the same thing again?
I think I'd ride him more like I did in Tramore. I suppose when we were going to the Ryanair last year, I was kind of half riding him to run well, and if we nicked a bit, if he finished in the first 3 last year, obviously we were riding him to win, but everyone would have been delighted. So, but I think, we found out more about him now, that he's probably, he's won over 2-7 and that, so he gets the trip well. So, I think you'd ride more positively.
Should we have a look at that Tramore race?
Yeah.
I'd got the impression that the track and the ride and everything really suited him. Now, also, it was an easing grade, wasn't it, compared to what he'd been used to lately?
Yeah, definitely. And Tramore, it's you can do that around there, and kind of track position or pole position down the inside is kind of key. You're turning all the time, but he jumps really well and got into a good rhythm. So yeah.
What about his running the John Durkin then?
Yeah, the run to John Durkin, I'd say besides the first 2, it's like all the rest of them just never got into it. To be honest about it, it was just one of those strangest races. It was good as race I've ever ridden, in the tempo we went. I even looking at Mark down the back, and Paul, I couldn't even really see Paul. I said he has to stop, at some stage. So I was happy until climbing up towards the 4th last, and they weren't stopping in front of me,
He's been entered in the Gold Cup as well, but you were outstayed that day for 3rd by Fast or Slow. Is he more of an intermediate chaser in your mind, distance-wise?
Look, he has form over, I suppose, just shy of 3 miles. but whether he does get the fully 3 or not, like last year was at the Savills, he ran in. If you go back and watch it, he travelled into the straight and maybe didn't see it out. But look, I think everyone is keen to maybe try it again at some stage. Whether it'll be in March, I'm not sure. When the Ryanair, take out Factor File, it looks like it's open as well. So yeah, we'll see. And
Factor File obviously coming off a lesser run, and Hartwood at this stage coming off a better run. So
Factor File, look, I think the aim is to go to the DRF next weekend for the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup with Factor File, so that might put a different light on it. But 3 miles for Hartwood ain't sure Punchestown, I'd have said.
Yeah. You'd like it, I suppose, when you the extended 3 is or the Gold Cup trip, you know what I mean? It's
3 1/4, different ball games.
Yeah, when he gets to 2.5 well, and he's a strong stayer over that trip, I suppose. Yeah.
The expectation, I suppose, is that Factor File is going to get beaten in the Irish Gold Cup. If you look at the betting, he's 6-1, isn't he? So it, probably running
He's
well.
looking at the bet, we know the result of every race.
No, I'm talking about running well,
Yeah.
but not winning probably isn't going to impact if you're trying to look at an angle betting-wise on the Ryanair. I can't imagine.
I would imagine, though, after his King George run, you'd like to see a bit of life in Factor File and a good run all the same. Even if he doesn't win, you would like to see him look like he was going to win at some point.
Can we talk about?
I would anyway.
I agree. Can we talk about a Gold Cup horse, Envoy Allen, the amazing Envoy Allen, who's going to sign off in his career in the Cheltenham Gold Cup? What are your reflections on Dan Royal?
Yeah, look, he's brilliant. I've rode him twice and won 2 Grade 1s in him. But I thought this day he was very good. I remember kind of the way he jumped and travelled, and at the top of the hill, kind of the third last that came between Danny and Dunna, and he just, he just that kind of presence about him, and look, he's been unreal horse for everyone. Even there, like at the third last, I'm taking it back, but I thought it was probably one of his best performances.
Did you need to jump at the last?
It was a help anyway.
You don't back off, like you go for it.
No, as I said, sure, it's one of those, when you're in a Grade 1, and I was asking him, over the last 3, and we're meeting the last long. I said, might as well keep going.
Revs are up.
Yeah.
And it's confidence in that horse as well, presumably.
Yes, sure. Look, the amount of jumps he's jumped, and the amount of it he's done. But on the good ones, I suppose you can keep rolling the way down to them, and when you get there, they will do something for you.
It'll be his 8th straight appearance at the Cheltenham Festival. Won the 2019 bumper, the 2020 Turners. He fell in the Marsh, which was the intermediate novice chase. 3rd in the Queen Mum. Won the Ryanair in 23. 2nd the following year. I've just seen his 3rd. What an incredible horse! Soundness, capability, being able to maintain his form at that level for that long. I mean, that's an incredible training performance, isn't it?
It is. I actually rode him out yesterday, and even like just warming him up. I was saying, you think he's after getting younger, not older. Like he was carting me, trotting him around, and even cantering him at the minute. Like he's taking plenty riding at home, So and he looks brilliant. Like but when you sit up in him, there's some presence about him, And it'd be great if he could run well over there.
And having paid him all of the tributes, I think he's an amazing horse. But an extended 3 mile, 2 furlong.
I think at this, I suppose you won't actually try, I suppose, but I definitely think you'd go there rather than maybe the Ryanair at this stage with him. I suppose he's been there the last couple of years, the Ryanair, so I suppose maybe they're right to have a go and roll the dice.
Yeah, why not?
See what happens.
Yeah, why not? Protectorat, we just saw him finishing a relatively distant 4th in the Ryanair from last year. He'd won it the previous year in deeper ground. He came back on Sunday, Ruby, at Windsor, and he was receiving weight from Resplendent Grey, who chased him home, and even more weight from Handstands, who was in 3rd. So his advantage, but it was still heartwarming to watch.
It was, again, because that Fleur de Lis carries no grade or whatever, and the conditions suited him. It was good to watch. He travelled with some gusto as well, a bit like Darragh described in Envoy Allen. Protectorat was a handful all the way in Windsor for Harry Skelton. I did think off the loop back to the 4th last, I thought Handstands was coming to give him a race and got to him to give him a race, but I thought he folded. I never really fancied Resplendent Grey at the trip. I think he wants a good bit further, and Protectorat was brilliant to watch. But I kind of looked at the race and was disappointed with Handstands more than anything else.
Yeah, he's not finishing out his races, is he?
No, as Ruby said, I thought even the tempo Harry was going to go, I thought it was going to bring Handstands into it, and I thought as soon as he got him, he'd get him at it and he'd outstay him. But you know, it was short-lived effort, like, wasn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
Does he not stay, or is it something else?
I don't know. It's hard to say he doesn't stay. And I know the Scilly Isles is shorter, but he battled back to beat Django Bay in the Scilly Isles last year. Looked to be very little fighting him last Sunday. That's probably what disappointed me most.
I thought the horse that shaped best in the race was Resplendent Grey, given the trip would have been short of what he needed. He's got a Gold Cup entry, he could run well, but the Grand National presumably is the one you like.
Looked the kind of contest for him, wouldn't it? Won last year's, what's it called now? Still a Bet365 or Bet365? Won that last year. Was a bit disappointing at the festival. I fancied him in the National Hunt Chase, and he came from the next parish to run on at the end behind Haughty Callure, but that looks like maybe like it was a really good race now, looking back on it. But yeah, could be in that Grand National type. Prefer a different one in the National though.
Are you going to say?
We're going to look at him now in a second.
All right, okay, all right, that's good to know. And Protectorate, presumably, if I were the Skeltons, I'd be trying to box clever with him.
They will.
Yeah.
I have no doubt they will. They are very strategic about how to run their horses this season, and they are maximising every opportunity.
I wonder why that is. And Matata was very disappointing, patiently ridden again. He's mostly out rather than in lately. And what do you make of JJ Slevin being reminded of his responsibilities after he dropped his whip for using his hand as encouragement down the horse's neck?
I think all he can do is laugh, Lydia.
Would that happen over here?
No. Why would it?
Why is
You're
it not
using your
legitimate?
hand.
Yeah,
Using your hand.
yeah.
Moving on.
I mean, I can understand the difference between using your hand in anger. That's more of a disrepute thing, isn't it?
That would be a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Slap is a bit different.
okay, yeah. We will
Again,
move on.
Laughable. Rules for rules and more rules.
Yeah, I must say I was surprised. I know it's not the first time that rule's been invoked, but it did seem a bit pedantic to me. Right, let's have a look at the declarations for the Cotswold Chase. We've already mentioned that Spillane Tower is there and that Jack Kennedy will be riding. Grey Dawning is there. We haven't seen him since he won the Betfair Chase. L'Empresse, who's already made his debut in December at the track, got sort of short of room on the inside and then came to the outside and finished with a rattle. And we've got Flooring Porter, Ruby, who we were expecting potentially to see back in the Cleve, but when he got sidelined after winning the Kerry National, they were talking about the Grand National for him.
They were talking about the Grand National, and is the Kerry National too far back, Lydia, for qualification for the Grand National for him? Does he need to complete a run or a run over fences?
Question.
I think he does. Has to have at least started, so that's I'd say why he's going here, because at least it qualifies him for the Grand National. I stand to be corrected. That'll be a tactical race. I can imagine Flooring Porter and L'Empresse going forward. Jack Kennedy looking at Harry Skelton looking at Jack Kennedy, and it'll be a good dash off the home turn.
What do you make of Grey Dawning? Do you think he's a credible Gold Cup contender?
I thought he was good in Haydock. You know, obviously different year, and I suppose they learned from it last year, didn't they? But yeah, like, I suppose to be a contender, I think he needed to beat Royal Pagay the way he did, and you know, I still think he's a little bit to prove maybe over the trip for the Gold Cup, so yeah, it'll be interesting.
And how about Spillane Tower? Presumably this is his shot. He didn't get the Gold Cup entry last year after a good season. This season, a bit more patchy, been tried over hurdles, but he's been given a chance, presumably, here.
That's it, I suppose. Look, he's running Punchestown in that conditions hurdle behind El Fabiolo, I suppose, was more encouraging than the one in Naas. But yeah, I suppose you'd like to see him on Saturday be given Grey Dawning a race, but anyway, wouldn't you?
I think he has to go at least give him a race. Yeah. Get him at it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but at least he's been given a shot, you know.
Yeah.
He could be a contender.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't run from the King George till he was a non-runner in Aintree last year. And I wonder, were they just never happy with him after the King George? I would imagine something like that.
Okay, yeah, he's pulled out of Aintree because of the ground. Right, the Irish Gold Cup betting, one of many brilliant races at the Dublin Racing Festival. We've already mentioned it in passing, and there's been an extra frisson added to it by a British trained runner, my goodness. Haytu Callure is coming across, and Rebecca Curtis, his trainer, had some interesting things to say. She just wondered whether the style of racing over in Ireland might suit it. Did you read these quotes? You're grinning at me, I think you did.
It's British. It's British. Yeah. When they want to include the Welsh. Yeah.
Is that what I said?
He's British runner.
I did that automatically. It's ingrained in me.
No, that's when they want to include Wales. They call them British. So there's a Welsh runner coming to Leopardstown who will suit who will suit the style of race, and he'll go along with Affadale Fury, and they'll make it a good test. So yeah, I can see why she's bringing him. He's a good stayer. He absolutely flopped in Haydock, there's no doubt about that. He was good in the Welsh National, and great to see him. An Irish Grand National winner, and adds to a brilliant weekend.
I think you're on really dodgy ground because you refer to the British as the English, whether they're Scottish, Welsh,
no, we
or
don't.
English. Yeah, yes, you do.
We do
Yes,
not.
you do. Oh, Lucinda Russell has complained about it before. I'm fairly sure.
Not about me.
No,
I
I'm
always
sure.
refer to her as Scottish.
Right. Okay. I'm glad that you.
Home rule and all that.
But I'm going to back out of this conversation. I feel like it might be wise. Let's reflect on the Savills Chase over Christmas, and particularly we want to have a look at Monty's Star, who ran a lot better than at Newbury.
Yeah, he did. Again, I suppose we were kind of, jumping out and seeing what he could do. A little bit disappointing in Newbury, but would have came on plenty from the run. Yeah, we followed away, kind of Paul, and that was in front of us. He jumped well. I think he was a little bit slow at that one anyway, and I think maybe the last ditch down the back. And the others kind of got going on me a little bit. But I think he can build on that again, hopefully. Yeah, you can see kind of there, I'm just on the back foot when the tempo was up a little bit. Kind of jumped that well, and kind of round the bend he stayed on well. He was doing his best work from the last home.
There's my Grand National horse, Lydia.
Are you actually putting him up for the Grand National?
No, because we don't have weights or anything yet, but I do think he's tailor-made for it. I always thought he was a national horse more than a Gold Cup horse. I love the way he came home here. He was stone last at the last ditch. He passed 4 or 5 horses on the way home. Very ridden, really like one of Henry's, and Darragh dropped in there and snuck around. And came home really, really well.
He's got a mark of 158, and I Am Maximus won it a couple of years ago off 159.
Yeah.
There's obviously the national factor to be added in.
There is. I know he suits. He doesn't get up in the air, does he? He knows what he's doing jumping wise, and I think that's very important at entry.
Yeah, no, he's a very good jumper, and I suppose having the run in Newbury, in a good handicap like that would have stand him as well. And I think it's all systems go back to the Irish Gold Cup again, and yes, we'll see how we get on there, and I think sure they'll make a plan after that then.
And what did happen at Newbury? What did he and you learn from that?
Well, it was Johnny Burke actually rode him in Newbury.
Yeah.
I rode Gorgeous Tom in the day. But yeah, I think like going over there, obviously it was his first run in a while, so I think Johnny said that he took a blow and he would come on from it, and yeah, like I said, he said he jumped well and that. So I think the Irish Gold Cup will tell everyone, I suppose, where he's going after that.
Going back to Longhouse Poet in the Grand National, did you think you were going to win, or did you think he was just being a bit too exuberant to get home?
Yeah, for a horse that's kind of can be a little bit laid back, kind of, when we jumped off, he pricked his 2 ears and he kind of charged down. he was charging on down over the fences, and yeah, look, as I said, he ran well. And even I thought maybe when he'd go back there, he might, the experience might have stood to him, but I think he would. Did he fall or unseat? The fall
Canal
was it Canal Turn,
yeah.
I think, yeah. But yeah, like I said, I got a good ride off him, and we both learned plenty that day, so yeah, good.
You can put it into action on Monty's Star for Ruby. Right, those are our thoughts on the established chasers. In a moment, we're going to move on to the established hurdlers. Well, where else to start but with Bob Olinger? And we've got a couple of races to reflect upon, haven't we, Ruby? The Stayers from last year, which he won under Rachel, and the Christmas Hurdle, which he shaped really well under Darragh.
Yeah, and ridden similarly in both occasions, but only when you look back, like he was stone last early in the last year's Stayers Hurdle, got to halfway, he's still last, he's about to pass Galaw because Crambo fell and brought down home by the Lee, interfered with Galaw, but he still only has the wall park behind him at the top of the hill. The wall park charges down the outside, Rachel waits on the inside with him, and she's so patient on him from here to the road as it begins to quicken, and ultimately it was the turn of foot from there on that wins the race for him. But when you're riding him, Darragh, does he ride quick? Does he have that turn of foot, or was he just quicker than 3-milers?
I know he definitely always had a turn of foot, and I think when I won a beginners on him here, and he was always, when you'd get down and go on, he used to always take off, and obviously, he's 3 miles now, but yeah, I still think no matter what the gallop they go, when he's ridden like that, he will have a gear,
And were you happy with him at Christmas? You rode him pretty much the same way, maybe having a practice for the Stayers Hurdle. This is the way I'm going to ride him.
Look, he has to be dropped in. I think I rode him in the race in Navan, say, the year before when Rachel was out. It's not the Boyne, is it the one before that?
The begins with L.
Liz Mullen, yeah, and I kind of rode
Said
him.
the English person.
I kind of rode him. I still dropped him in, but I was probably in the race a little bit, and even kind of learned a bit about him that day as well. Even jumping, he's probably better off when you let him warm up into it. But yeah, I was very happy with his run in Leopardstown. Obviously, it looked like a career best from Tihupu.
You spoke about the John Durkin being a cracking race to ride in. This looked a really strong race to watch. Did it ride as strong a race as it looked?
It did, even, for a Bob Olinger, is a pacey horse, even down the back, I was jumping well, and I needed to jump them all. Even I could see Jack from, even when we turned down the side in Leopardstown, he was, getting Tihupu, he was giving him a slap down the shoulder and that. So it was a really strong race, and I think that's what probably brought out the best of the winner on the day as well.
You probably heard Jack reflecting on getting beaten on Tupu in last season's Stayers Hurdle, and maybe you might have heard Ruby talk about that as well. Knowing that that's what Jack thinks, what are you expecting of that race?
Look, I think he's going to be from the second last on this year. I think he's not going to be slowing him down or waiting around for anyone, but sure it'll be, and there'll be other horses like Honesty Policy will be not going to give him a free rein as well. So, it'll be grand, let them all at it, and hopefully we'll play our cards last and see what happens then.
Looks
it's
a bit
great
deeper
track for that, isn't it? You can see it in your head already off the bend. You can see them in front of you, and am I going to go over there away from them? Am I going to go over there? It's a great track to ride a horse the way he would riding Bob Olinger, to have them to aim at. I really enjoy that one myself.
It's a bit deeper race this time around, though. There's more dangers to be looking at, I think.
There is in February or January anyway. We'll see what happens by March.
Well, that's true. Talking of which, we haven't seen Hidden Valley Lake this season. What's going on with him?
I think all being well, he's going to the Boyne Hurdle in Navan. That's in a couple of weeks, and he was. I don't know what. I'm sure he's entered the Stairs, but whether he'll go back to Liverpool then or not as well, I suppose, would be an option for him. But seems to be in good order at home, and he's won. I won the Boyne Hurdle on him on his first run after he went chasing, so I think all being well, he's starting off there.
Should we take a look at the Liverpool Hurdle from last season? The season before, he'd finished third behind Strong Leader, and he accounted for him this time around.
Yeah, no, as I said, he was very good in the day. Settled in behind the leaders. He can be a bit kind of ignorant with you, but went a nice gallop and he settled away and jumped well, and stayed at it well up the straight.
What do you mean by ignorant with you?
He's kind of he can be a bit heavy-headed with you. He can lean on the bit a bit with you, but kind of with the more racing he's got, kind of the better he's been with it.
And is the feeling just to split Bob Olinger and him up, or is it that he really likes Liverpool and that he's very effective in those kind of circumstances?
And Tupu, they're all in the one colours.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Tupu as well, good point.
Yeah, I suppose when you've 3 horses for the one division, I suppose to be nice to have one. Well, it'd be nice to ride one in Liverpool anyway. But yeah, he's a very good horse in his day, and he was even last year in Ascot he ran a cracker as well. So he definitely has the ability to be going running races like that. Yeah.
Do you hold anything with the theory that he's at his very best fresh?
Looking at it, I suppose his form does suggest that. I think even when I won the Boyne Hurdle on him, he had been chasing and had a nice break to the Boyne. And then I suppose last year he ran in Ascot and ran in this day in the Galmoy and disappointed, and then didn't run to Liverpool. So his form does suggest that maybe he is better when he's fresh.
Okay, let's take a look at the Cleve Hurdle. We've got the declarations for Saturday's event. This is the betting declarations for it. Gull Road, Imposed Trois, Strong Leader, Doddy the Great, Camsinas and Marchantou. So the news is there that there is no Telem. Telem, the French horse who was ante-post favourite for the 2024 Stayers Hurdle until ruled out the previous Christmas. We haven't seen him race since November 2023, and his trainer Arnaud Chaye had entered him in the Cleve Hurdle and has entered in the Stayers Hurdle. It's a shame that we're not going to be able to get to see him.
Most certainly is. He would have been an interesting one, but that would look Imposed Trois to lose, wouldn't it?
It would really. Yeah, I like him.
Especially at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's a grudging horse. He only does what's required and no more.
It looks that way. Wouldn't mind owning it.
Absolutely. And the long walk form has been given a boost at Windsor by Potter's Charm. I mean, that was a drop in trip and a less difficult contest, but he was quite comfortably beaten fourth. But he's run really well in a substantial race at that grade.
Yeah, he did, and I thought it was actually probably Willie Twiston Davis' idea, but I thought Sam was good on him. They hung on in front rather than sending him, and a good turn of foot late on, or between the last two, sealed it in from him. Thought he jumped really well.
Yeah, he'd like the national spirit, don't you think?
Yes.
I know he'd run into Cabral de Mathan, which could be a problem, but I think the track would really suit him.
Yeah, but the Twiston Davises won't give it to the Skeltons. They'll probably go and take them on.
Yeah, and all power to their elbow. They're that's really important. Right, there's also another very important hurdle taking place at Cheltenham on Saturday. It's not just the DRF, though we have clashes. We're actually starting to have some in Britain again. Just the four there. Poniros is the one that's missing.
Yeah, he's going to stay for the DRF. That doesn't look an easier race than the Irish champion hurdle. So Poniros they do, don't they? So Poniros will go to Leopardstown, but look, it looks a cracking contest. The New Line versus Sergino. It's hard to see Brentford Hope count him, but he's in the contest, and the Nemean Lion ran well last weekend.
Behind Potter's Charm.
May have got involved a little bit early, but he does look like he stays, so it'll be a good contest.
It's going to be a shake-up in the champion hurdle market, isn't there? Sergino currently 5-4 favourite, and the New Line 7-2 or 4-1. Something's going to change. Something's going to change.
Yeah. What do you think of the New Line?
Watching Newcastle, I suppose, when Constitution Hill fell, he definitely didn't look like he was enjoying being out in front. He had a little bit of a look down the back and that, and I know the Skeltons believed he would have definitely won, didn't they? Looking at it live, it was I was unsure, until they got over that jump. But yeah, I think he's a very good horse. But I think Sergino, yeah, he'd be the one for me anyway.
I think he would be for everyone, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Anything to add to the Constitution debate? Your man over there just rolls his eyes. I mean, what do you think? A flat run and back to Cheltenham. Can you be confident in his jumping, do you think?
It's hard to be confident in it, I suppose, and what's after happening. But he is a champion hurdle horse, so yeah, it's where I'd be going anyway.
OK, well, we shall see via Southwell. Work Ahead has got an entry for the Unibet Champion Hurdle from Henry. We haven't seen him since he finished last in the Supreme. What's happened since?
I think he's in the Limestone Lad, is it, in Naas on Sunday.
Yep.
He seems to be in good order. I schooled him last week. Yeah, seems to be in good order. Had a little setback after Cheltenham, but seems to be working well. And he's a good horse. That day he won in Leopardstown, I suppose. William Money was behind him, and if he was right this year, he'd probably be a contender as well. So I think Sunday will tell everyone where they stand, and going forward what will happen. OK, so that's the Limestone Lad, Naas on Sunday when he's up against the likes of Cashel-Dale Lad. So that should be something of a test. Let's move on to the Novice Chasers. So we had the novice entries for the Cheltenham Festival this week on Tuesday, all of them all at once. Let's take a look at the Novice Chase entries, the Arkle and Brown Advisory. These are the Grade 1s, and you can see that 23 is the lowest Arkle entry since I started keeping records back in 1998. But 43 is the largest Brown Advisory entry for 4 years. But that 43 includes the lowest number of Brits, just 14, and the highest number of Irish, 29, in that period. 16, count them, are trained by Willie Mullins, who provided 4 of the 7 runners last year. And there are 5 doubly entered horses: Capagee Pike, Port Julien, Romeo Coolio, 6 Mile Bridge, and the mare Cala Conte. What do you make of the Arkle, those Arkle figures, Ruby?
I think the Arkle figures, Lydia, are a knock-on effect of the number of novice hurdlers. I even think the number of horses that run now in our top handicap hurdles, the 100-gram ones, you rarely get a full field. Look, there's a million ways of looking at it, but people will just keep tinkering with the race programme instead of actually looking at the problem, the root problem, the source, where they're coming from. But look, that's all that'll happen. They'll tinker away with the programme there and no one will look at the big issue. Yeah.
It's the big issue. We've spoken about it many times before on Road to Cheltenham. Right, let's move on with the novice chasers that Darragh is most interested in. Started with the big Westerner, and she, my goodness, she's taken really well to fences. Ruby's going to take you through her recent career.
We went back to the Albert Bartlett last year, Darragh. You set out at the very back. She over-raced a bit, did she?
Yeah, and we were kind of concerned a little bit about that. So that's why I kind of dropped her in. She'd the 2 runs over hurdles, I suppose. But kind of just watching previous Albert Bartlett's as well, it can be kind of a difficult enough kind of a race when there's kind of a lot of runners. I didn't want to be in the rough with, so I said I'd take my time and follow away, and yes, rider to come home.
Got rough off the second last hurdle. Yourself and Gavin Sheehan, are you back talking, you?
Ah, we are, yeah. It was actually Jack. He missed the hurdle, and I jumped as well, and I ended up getting caught up and behind him. But yeah, look, she's a very good mare.
Were you disappointed on the day?
I was, to get beat, I suppose, but you know, it's your second as well, and you know, every time you get beat, you're disappointed. Yeah, I suppose.
You haven't ridden her over fences. You haven't had the pleasure yet. She's only had the 2 starts. I love her jumping. So what do you make of it? Was this the way she schooled, and she's improved? The first jump at Fairyhouse was only okay, but every jump after that seems to be taking the side out of your right.
Yeah, you know, from the first day we schooled her, you know, in Henry's up the field, she's quick and she's accurate. Even for a big mare, she's measured at what she's doing, and you know, she definitely improved a lot from Fairyhouse to Limerick. You know, up the back straight, she was attacking and making ground, and you know, she came on plenty from the run against a good horse in Jimmy Design today.
She did. He was an ultimately a little disappointing. She then went and beat Jade de Grugy at Limerick, and her jumping at Limerick was better again. If you're looking at her and the way she attacks these fences in Limerick, and you're thinking about a Brown Advisory or a Mayor's Chase, which way would you be thinking?
To be the Brown Advisory for me, I think she's loads of stamina. Saying that, I suppose the Mayor's Chase, if it was run with, you know, plenty of ease in the ground maybe, but I think she's loads of stamina. I think she'd, you know, I think the whole experience of Cheltenham will stand her this year. You know, last year she kind of over-raced a little bit, but I think fences, like, she enjoys jumping. I don't think she'll do that this year in that race, and it's not like it's going to be as big as field, I don't think either, you know. So yeah, I think she's all stamina. Yeah.
She'd be an easier mare to ride in the Chase, I would say, all the same.
Yeah. Brand Advisory all day long for me, certainly. Right, let's talk about Cocktail Divan. Ruby's got some doubts about distance-wise for him, haven't you?
I do. Look, he started in the north behind Romeo Coolio, and there's no shame in that. Wasn't a match for him on the day, and actually didn't jump as well as he can do. He's a bit sticky early in the north. His jumping did improve, and ultimately he wasn't good enough for Romeo Coolio. But then when I watched him on his next start in the Florida Pearl with you at Punchestown, like, all the way through the race, the only horse you want, this is Romeo Coolio, scoots away from you, fine, you improve from that run, you go to Punchestown. Like, you were cantering everywhere in Punchestown, but you didn't win. Did he stay?
He definitely didn't stay in Punchestown. I think it was a soft, heavy ground in the day, but kind of like what you said, you know, the whole way around, I was at pains trying to take him back. Even Rocky's Diamond was making the run, and even I ended up switching out beside him after the 2 fences in the straight, because I said, I'm jumping that well, I'm going to jump up in the back of him, you know. But the whole way down the back, I was bringing him back, and you know, even I said I knew the King's horse was a good stayer, so I was just trying to, even turning in, I said I want to come away from him. I didn't want to get down and get gritty with him, but ultimately he did outstay me, you know, on the day.
And then he went to Leopardstown and was back in trip 2-5 for a beginner's chase, booked him out, let him gallop, and I'm looking at it thinking, well, there's no intermediate in Cheltenham. Would he not come? Could he come down a trip?
I suppose, like, riding him at home and that, you wouldn't necessarily think, you know, he'd scream 2 miles at you. But I think I know maybe this was there was no Oscar's brother in it, but I think if it was 3 miles round there that day on that ground, he would have still won the way he did. I think anyway, you know. I think he improved. I think the couple of races against Romeo Coolio.
But even there at the second last, when you got in and Kiss was spot on, he was so much quicker than Kiss.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I often say, like, jumps made him a faster horse. I think jumping makes him a faster horse.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, he has a high cruising speed, but I do think the 2 runs he had, you know, he wasn't good enough for Romeo Coolio, and I think the run he had in Punchestown, I think he felt a better horse even in Leopardstown when I rode him. I know it was back and trip and on better ground, but as I said, I think no matter if it was 3 miles that day, he'd have still won the same way, you know.
But how are you going to get him away from the big Westerner? I'm trying to give you a hand here.
Let's have a look at the Brand Advisory betting. And Final Demand is the favourite for it, and that what Ruby's just asked you times with the Cheltenham Countdown, who's one of our roadies. He says he presumes you'll be on the Big Westerner in March. Is it that simple?
Yeah, look, I suppose she's always been the apple to my eye anyway. You know, I suppose she's a proven stamina, I suppose, and she's a very good mare, getting the allowance as well. Yeah, like the one thing I think she wants is the bit of an ease in the ground. But she's a very, very good mare, and yeah, she'll be, you know, I think she'll be dangerous in that race, yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at another bit of novice chasing form. This was Joystick beating Slade Steele. Slade Steele, previously, of course, is Supreme winner. He's in its second season over fences. Talk us through this.
Yeah, look, Joystick obviously jumped out Brian Hayes. Slade Steele had ridden him the 2 times before at Navan and at Punchestown. I got brought down, but, you know, for a horse that had won the Supreme and that, I was never fully happy on him in Navan the last day for whatever reason. Was it the fall or whatever, but even the race in Punchestown, I was following Paul and I was slowing him down, whereas the last day for a horse that has plenty class about him, I just, everything just felt a bit slow on him, you know. And ultimately, you know, I got found out maybe over the trip in the ground, but I still don't think he turned up. I didn't get the same feel off him the last day as I did the 2 times before. You know, I thought he'd travelled with more like a horse that had that bit of class, you know.
So what kind of horse is he? One of our correspondents, Darragh Mulverhill, has been asking about the Irish Grand National. He's basically, was he outpaced or was he outstayed? You're just saying he didn't turn up, but what do you think he is intrinsically?
Look, the 2 times I rode him previously, behind Predator's Goal as a Willie's horse, and even at Punchestown, albeit I was brought down into 4th last, he felt like the old, you know, Slade Steele. So I'm not sure where they'll go with him. You know, could he be one for the 2.5 mile handicap at Cheltenham or something like that as well? So I'm not sure what the plan is. I haven't heard what the plan is for him, but I definitely think he's better than what he showed at Navan. I think even when I look back at the race, was it like that beginner's chase? It's always won by a 3-car brag or a, you know, one of those real
National Hunt Chase type
horses.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was just the ground. Now the ground was like, it was really tough in Navan, and maybe just the combination of trip and ground, just it definitely caught him out. But I just think he's better than that. Okay.
Let's go with July Flower, shall we? Who's really taken to fences really well. So we're dropping down in trip. Talk me through her.
Yeah, look, when we schooled her in Limerick, or the week before, she was brave at home when we were schooling her, but I learned plenty about her in Limerick that day, and as I said, when, you know, even at the second last there, she was like longer than long, and I didn't do anything, but I learned going forward, if that's the case, just lay up her neck, yeah.
Keep going. She went from there to Cheltenham, where she beat Be Aware, and she's since been to Leopardstown. Wasn't quite as brave at Cheltenham. She seemed to have learned a little bit. But how deep a race was this? Do you think that's Arkle form, or does she end up more like Mazzacata? Probably doesn't one of the runs for the Grand Annual, but where's she going to end up?
Like, I'd say if the slower the ground, I'd say maybe you could look at the Arkle for her. Like, she was good that day in Cheltenham, albeit I suppose Be Aware, you know, might have left the form a little bit down. Maybe if he'd flew the second last in Windsor, he might have still won, would he? But in Leopardstown this day, you know, the ground was dry enough, and I felt that maybe the trip in the ground maybe just told on her late on. She didn't kind of maybe hit the line the way I thought she would. But look, she still ran well, and she's obviously going straight to Cheltenham now. So where she'll end up, let's leave it to them, I suppose.
And she might go to the mares, I suppose.
Yeah, the mares would be an option as well. Like, she's not a big mare, but I kind of just felt that, you know, I was jumped well and everything in Leopardstown, but I thought maybe, you know, even myself and Kieran kind of put Jack in a pocket kind of behind us. I thought maybe, you know, I'm going to stay going, but I just felt the ground maybe was as tight as she might have wanted it on the day as well. So hopefully she can improve it.
Okay. That's the Novice Chasers. The final bit of the show will be a rattle through the Novice Hurdlers and also a quick word about today. So just to explain the entries from Henry de Bromhead's perspective at Cheltenham, we've already talked about his Novice Chasers. He's also got a fair few Novice Hurdlers. I was just underlining that Cocktail de Vin didn't get an Arkle entry, so it's the Brown Advisory or nowhere. In terms of the Novice Hurdlers, any that you'd like to pick out?
Yeah, look, I suppose Mr. Pessimistic was disappointing in Leopardstown the last day, but it was kind of, it was a bit messy. He got a kind of bump after jumping off, kind of, and everyone kind of wanted the same position, and he definitely over-raced. I think he's capable of better than that, and I think he's going back to DRF for that 2-mile race, and you know, we'll change things up a little bit with him, but he's a horse that we like at home, and hopefully, you know, he can put up a better show there next week.
Okay. We can also show you the entries and analysis of them for the Grade 1 novices. There's 3 of them plus the juvenile as well. We've got a graphic to show you that, and there were double-figure entry increases in each race, bar the Supreme, 2 miles again. British trainer is almost entirely responsible for this, the increase in the Turners, the increase more evenly spread in the Albert Bartlett, and the Irish are greatly responsible for the largest Triumph entry since 2015. It was interesting to see that Willie Mullins had entered 4-year-olds in the Supreme. He's done that with, I was looking it up, Il Etait Temps, Umdor, Mary Devi, none of which I think actually ran in the race.
No. Surprised he hasn't done it more often. He likes making entries, but ultimately not running them.
Right, we had a very significant winner at Haydock on Saturday. That was in the Rossington Main. Old Park Star was very, very good indeed in accounting for Hurricane Pat.
Oh, he was. Very simple, very professional in how he did it. Hurricane Pat jumped really well early on, but you could never knock Old Park Star. He was clean, he was athletic, settles really well. They spread this race early in the back straight, only 2 counted. But from the third last on, I thought he was really good. Darragh, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought the same looking at after watching it. I suppose it's the way he's done it. You know, he's jumped out, his ears are pricked, seems to be always looking for the next hurdle, and you know, even when the second horse kind of came to him, which you know you thought could have a chance in the day, but I thought when Nico opened him up, he fairly did open up, and you'd love the way he went down and jumped the last and kept going, didn't you?
Loved the way he went to the line as well. There's so much to like about him. You know, he handles Cheltenham, he's won there already. I know that was a new course, he'll be on the old course, but God, I mean, you couldn't. I can see why he went favoured, Lydia. Whether he'll remain as short as he is now, I don't know, but he's a very good horse.
He really is. What did you make of Al Kairos, Darragh? Because Jack Kennedy's already comparing him to a Supreme winner in Lebec. We're into the yakety yak period already.
Him to Lebec. Maybe only in speed. I hope.
Better attitude, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I rode in the race. I think I ride kill game in the race. Yeah, I thought we went a good gallop on the day. And even turning in, Danny rode one for Willie. But even
Dr. the Minil,
yeah. And I said, yeah, just going to run well here. And all of a sudden, Jack Kennedy appeared, and he just looked like he was. Someone put him there, you know. He just looked like he joined in.
It did really look like that. It really did. Right, we need to have a chat about the Dawn Run. We've got the betting to show you, and then we've got a quick fire look through some of the key players en route to that race. Here is the betting. Bambino Fido is the 2-1 favourite ahead of Old School Outlaw, who's already got a name check in the show at 8-1, and that's 14-1 and upwards the rest. Do you want to take us through this package?
Yeah, and we'll roll them on there. Oh, obviously, Bambino Fever was beaten by Old School Outlaw at Naas, but she then went to Ferry House at ridiculously short odds and had no problem justifying them. She is the Cheltenham bumper winner from last season. She jumps really well. There's no doubt she improved from Naas, and she readily accounted for the opposition at Ferry House. I think this is the race she will end up in. But at Naas, she did run into Old School Outlaw, who ran in the colours of Francis Mangan at Naas, but I do believe will run in JP McManus's silks now after changing hands. This race was spread eagle by a front runner, went a really good gallop, but Old School Outlaw jumped a little better than Bambino Fever, was there to be shot at, but even though it looked like Paul Townham was trying to time his challenge, every time he got to Old School Outlaw's tail, Old School Outlaw seemed to go again. I was really impressed with the winner, and they pulled well clear of the third and fourth. I thought she looked a good filly, and I think, Darragh, you have ridden a couple of fillies that actually have caught the eye as well. Echoing Silence at Punchestown, travelled well, jumped well, stayed well.
Stayed well, yeah. She's a lovely mare. She's very uncomplicated as well, you know. Even on that day in Punchestown, horse that Tom Cooper's Eamon Kate ducked and shied away, and like my one didn't even look sideways, you know. She jumps well, she's very straightforward, and she'd run last year and they put her away. Then she went back and won a bumper, and she seems like she's after improving, so yeah. And
this mare at the north was full of her to be Carrignamorna, Declan Quealy's mare, Spruce. Bit of a surprise from this filly. She was well exposed. She had been chasing.
She had been chasing. I don't know how I got her beat in Ferry House the time before that in a novice chase. Looking back at that now, Horse of Gardens beat me, but yeah, we said that day, like she always showed a bit at home, but you know, I thought she was really good that day in Down Royal, and I suppose Declan Quealy's mare has come out and finished second in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown as well, so, and I think she's going back to the DRF, I heard the other day as well, Declan saying, so yeah, two nice mares.
We've got the Solarinas to look forward to at the weekend as well, so we'll be having a look at that this time next week in Road to Cheltenham. Less than a minute left on the show. Harry Desongre, I really fancy this horse. I thought he shaped really well in the Fox Rock. Yeah, no, ran really well. He's going to love the conditions. He won a beginner's chase here as well and has ran well in a hurdle race as well, so looking forward to it. It's been the plan since Navan, and he seems to be in good order, so yeah, it'll be testing conditions, probably last man standing, but hopefully it's me. Fingers crossed it is. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, Darragh. I hope you've enjoyed the experience. I know that everybody watching at home has, and you've given us a real insight, so thank you very much for that. Thanks for having me. Well, thank you. And thank you, as ever, for your insight, Ruby. Good luck today. Good luck for the rest of the season. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week for a usual Road to Cheltenham at the normal time.
This Racing Life with Albasti Equiworld.
Paddy Power, sponsors of the Road to Cheltenham.